2 weeks ago, we started this journey of looking at the four kingdoms of consciousness that we move among as divine souls living on this planet. And last week, we went more in depth into those first two kingdoms, the ones that are related to our human linear thinking. And today, I want to emphasize the third and fourth kingdoms, which are the ones related to our spiritual minds and our spiritual selves. So as we explore today, keep this question of the day in mind. What's the one choice that you might make today so that you release control and live in a place in which you allow the divine presence to move through you, embracing everything with the eyes of love? One more time. What's that one choice that you can make today so that you release control and live in a place in which you allow the divine presence to move through you, embracing everything with the eyes of love? So I want to start with a quick review of Kingdoms 1 and 2. And so if you happen to miss last week, you won't be in the dark. Kingdom 1 was about victimhood and blaming for our actions. And sometimes the person we blame is ourselves. I just want to make that clear. We felt like we were stupid or wrong or a victim of our circumstances or victim of the actions that we had taken. So Kingdom 1 happens to be that powerless world. But when we can let go of blame and take back our party, take back our power, which is indeed a party, we actually can move into Kingdom 2. Now, sometimes to get to Kingdom 2, we have to have a little bit of a pity party, and we may even need to talk about what's bothering us, talk about who we want to blame to a good friend. But the key issue here is to let go of that story so that we can move on. Move on to that power and that place where we actually create what we want to have happen rather than reacting as though we're a victim. So we get to discover far more of who we are. And in Kingdom 2, we actually realize that we're not a victim of circumstances, but rather we are the creators of the circumstances in which we live. Imagine that. Being the creators of the circumstances in which we live. In this by me stage, it's often a rebuilding or a building place where we learn to be grounded and focused and self-driven. And this arena actually creates a place where we sometimes have to have focused determination. We have to have some kind of sense of accomplishment. I did it. Wow, I did it. So we move past victimhood and we have a sense of personal ownership of the life that we're creating. And that's a powerful stage in the path to enlightenment. And Kingdom 2 is a great place for us to live because we are humans. And as I said last week, we need to manifest things. We need to be able to pay our bills. We need to eat. But it's not the place that we really want to be living. So let's see what it might be if we look like if we lived in Kingdom 3. So I'd like you to take just a quick breath. And remember when you learn to ride a bike or when you learn to play an instrument. And think about how difficult it was at the very beginning. So maybe you fell off your bike a lot. I know I did. I had a lot of skint knees because we didn't use those knee pads and elbow pads back then. Maybe you played a lot of wrong notes. Hey, when I was learning to play the piano, there were a lot of wrong notes. I'm surprised that my mom didn't want to shut the doors and have a little bit of peace and quiet. It takes a lot of practice to get to that place where you can ride your bike with ease, or you can play that instrument and you just feel like the music is coming out of you and that there's really no difficulty to it. It's pretty effortless. When we do something over and over again, when we practice, it can become effortless. And it becomes a lot like that surfer that's one with the wave. This ability to let go of the by me and of trying to control the notes or control the bike is what it takes to get into Kingdom 3. We have to recognize that when we live in Kingdom 2, when we're creating our world, that we like to be in control of it. And in order to move into Kingdom 3, we have to let go of that. When we move into the understanding that there's something greater than me, something greater than oneself, and recognize that we no longer really have control over things, we begin to allow things to just flow naturally. And that's when we live in Kingdom 3. That sense of being a part of something that's bigger than ourselves. That critical shift from the consciousness of that human linear mind, where we have to make effort to do things, to that non-linear domain of the spiritual reality, where life is happening through me. It's a release of control. A couple weeks ago when I was doing the overview, I said that in Kingdom 3, we see everything from the eyes of love. And love becomes the dominant energy and motivator in our lives. It's when we can partner with Spirit that we learn to co-create life and our circumstances. In the meditation today, I read some words of Ernest Holmes from Creative Mind, and I want to reread them. There, through the door of our own thought, we enter into a complete realization of life and truth, of love and beauty. And as we sit in the silence of our own souls and listen, it will be the greatest thing that we will ever do. As we sit in the silence of our own souls and listen, that's the greatest thing we'll ever do. Because when we enter into that realization of love and beauty and life and truth, that's when we've entered Kingdom 3. Now, a lot of us might not spend a lot of time in Kingdom 3, but it's obtainable as long as we stay in that place where we know that we're the eyes and the ears and the hands and the feet of the divine, and that the divine Spirit is moving through each of us so that we can do what we came here to do. We can be who we came here to be. I believe that there's a lot of Kingdom 3 in my Sunday messages. I spend a lot of time during the week doing research and creating the message early in the week so that I can tweak it a little bit on Fridays and Saturdays. And then on Sundays, I come in, I pray, and I surrender to the divine to allow the divine to guide me through these messages, to allow the divine to let me know exactly what it is I should be saying. And that's the through me consciousness. Letting go of any personal significance or attachment I have to the message and allowing my words to be a part of something that's greater than I am. What I've come to notice in these past 7 years of talks, it is some Sundays there's a lot of my talk in the message, and other Sundays there's very little of it. And it's always exactly what needed to be said. Because when I do my part, and I move my feet and do what it's mine to do, It allows the divine to come in and gracefully take over and create something that's significantly better. It's important, I think, that we recognize that in Kingdom 3, we've released ourselves into that flow. You might remember that last week I talked about my experience with the CARES Act loan for the center and the way I was living in Kingdom 1 and then moved into Kingdom 2 where I took a little bit of control. This week I finally decided I was going to get out of my own way. So I prayed for the highest good. I even voiced out loud that if our center didn't get the money, then some other small business that needed it more would get it. I had surrendered into something bigger than what I wanted. And the divine stepped in. I'm grateful to say the loan got completed and our final loan papers have been submitted. And I heard that the bank has money, so I am looking forward this week to hearing that we've gotten the money. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "Hitch your wagon to a star." And I think that that's Kingdom 3. We hitch our wagon to something that's bigger than we are. We quit playing small. And when we enter that through me consciousness, allowing the divine to flow through me, we go from that sense of personal significance to being guided. We're grounded in our own need and ability to do what's ours to do, but we let go of any desire to have us recognized for that, and we actually become part of something greater than we are. Kingdom 3 consciousness. That's the key, I believe. Something greater than me that I can allow to flow through me. You've heard me say often in various talks that there's a power for good and we can use it. When we do use it, when we allow it to flow through us, we're in Kingdom 3. We're moving through this planet, we're walking on the planet, but we're allowing ourselves to recognize that there's something bigger than us that can help us as we look at the world. So last week I told you the story of TT the turtle, but I only told you the first part of the story. He was a turtle that was burdened by the fact that he was born with a shell on his back, and he kept trying to get rid of the shell. He went through several different stages of trying to get rid of the shell. And I left you at the story at the time where the rabbit, Bunny, had come by and flipped him back over because he had gotten himself in a situation where he was on his back. So now TT is now capable of walking some more, and he's trying to find the river. And the rabbit Bunny agrees to show him where the river is. He says, "I'll take you." So the rabbit's bouncing around and hopping over towards the river, and TT is still getting in that mode of, "Please just help me get rid of this shell on my back." And the rabbit actually laughs at him, and Bunny says, "But the shell is part of who you are. That's part of who you are. You're not meant to be a butterfly." "Well, I want to hop." "Well, you're not meant to be a bunny. You're not supposed to be hopping." And TT really didn't want to hear any of this, but he kept moving towards the river. He kind of moved back and forth between Kingdom 1, having a pity party that he had this shell on his back, and at least he was making progress towards the river, being in control of his life. He still wanted to fly like those butterflies, but he was at least willing to keep making progress towards the river. When they got to the river and they could see the river, the rabbit said, "Well, this is where I let you be. There's the river. Go ahead and go in." And TT was a little bit hesitant. He went to the edge of the water and then he eased in. And what he noticed is, as he got further and further into the river, that his shell was no longer a burden. In fact, His shell helped him navigate, and he was seeing all these beautiful things that were in the river. And he was so delighted. He actually became one with his shell and realized that, wow, this shell is such a gift. And he started embracing all of who he was and seeing the world through a different set of lenses. He had found Kingdom 3. He was in partnership with his shell in the same way that Holmes reminds us to be in partnership with the divine. In Invisible Power, Holmes says this: we must claim this partnership as our own, accept the counsel of our silent partner, God, and realize that all we create through this partnership always results in more good. All we create through this partnership always results in more good. Partnering with the divine is a wonderful place to be. It's a great level of consciousness to live in, seeing the world from the eyes of love, letting love be your dominant emotion when you look at what's going on, recognizing that the things in the world are either love or calls for love. But there's a higher level of consciousness in that, and that's Kingdom 4. In Kingdom 3, we see things with the eyes of love, and we experience a sense of the divine flowing through us in our life. The next stage, which is Kingdom 4, is a profound realization that whatever is moving through me is actually inside of me. When we come to recognize that this great energy, this great force of love and beauty and life and truth is actually made of the same, that we are actually made of that same source, we move into Kingdom 4. Now, Kingdom 4 is a consciousness level of enlightenment. And it's not one that I think I have to say that I live in very often. But there have been times in my life where I've been there. In Kingdom 4, life is done as me. And it's a place of oneness, of the self-realization that we really have one life. So I've said before that there's one life, and that life is my life now. And when I truly embrace that, I'm living in Kingdom 4. When we truly can say that we know that we are spirit expressing on this planet, that we feel no sense of separation, no sense of me and them, that's Kingdom 4. When we get to the spot where we can say, unity is what is. And for many people, claiming that power within me, within us, allowing that power to be seen as coming from within me and not through me is a huge step. And some people see, well, as me, that's pretty arrogant. That's impossible. I'm not the divine. And yet each of us is this individual expression of the divine. Jesus certainly lived there. He was a great example of how to live in Kingdom 4. Buddha lived there. Our master teachers knew how to claim the power of the divine and become one with it. And that's what we have to do. We want to move into Kingdom 4. Kingdom 4 is the ultimate destiny of our journey. In Kingdom 4, we allow our individual expression to merge completely with the energy that we experience in this world as love and beauty and grace. We look at that infinite reservoir of life that is within us and we let it loose. We recognize that we're actually part of that creative force, that there is only one life, and that life is my life. We let go of that little self and we replace it with that divine presence. Technically, if we are living in Kingdom 4, there is no me, so it's not like things are being done as me, because there's only one. Kingdom 4 is a place that I know that each of us at some point in our life has recognized that we're there. Sometimes when I pray for myself or for other people, I realize that I get so connected that I know the words are coming out of my mouth, but I have no idea what those words might have been. And if somebody asks me, could you repeat that? It's like, nope, sorry, it wasn't me. That's when we live in Kingdom 4, when we can let go of that I and become one. Realizing there's not me and them. There's not me and a lot of other people. There were all these individual expressions, all like drops of water in the ocean. We come together to create this beautiful ocean of love and beauty, grace and peace and freedom. So I want to end with some words of Ernest Holmes. It comes from this thing called You, which is one of my favorite books. You belong to the universe in which you live. You are one with the creative genius back of this vast array of ceaseless motion, this original flow of life. You are as much a part of it as the sun, the earth, and the air. There is something in you telling you this, like a voice echoing from some mountain of inward vision, like a light whose origin no man has seen, like an impulse welling up from an invisible source, like an impulse welling up from an invisible source. I invite you this week to allow that impulse to show up, to remember that you're one with this creative genius. If any fears come up around the virus or around anything else, just take 3 breaths. Breath 1, there is only one life. Breath 2, that life is God. And breath 3, that life is my life now. So I have a couple challenges for you this week. One is, again, to just notice throughout the week, pause every once in a while and notice which kingdom you're living in. And see if you can't move to a higher kingdom at that moment. Just become conscious of wherever you are and what it would take to move to a higher kingdom. And the second one is the one I've been asking you to do for a few weeks now, just to take a few moments to meditate each day. Envision the virus reducing by 10% each day. And knowing that we're one with that divine, envisioning that great physician that's within each of us, healing anyone that needs to be healed for whatever purpose. Let's pray. So I stand here and I connect with that divine source that is right within me. I allow the love and the peace and the ease and the beauty and the freedom of that divine source that I know is right within me to express itself through me, as me. I take a moment right now to just remember that the divine and I are of that one life. That is my life, right here, right now. And what I know to be the truth is that each of us is living in exactly the perfect kingdom, that everything is always in divine order, that there is nothing within any of us that is wrong or bad or worth blame. And I'm knowing that whatever kingdom we happen to be in at any moment, that we can recognize that the divine is right where we are, moving in, through, and as each of us. So I'm just allowing that gift of knowing that oneness to flow through each of us right now, knowing that that's be the truth, that we are touched by that divine presence in every situation, in every moment. So I am grateful. I'm grateful for everyone in this community. I'm grateful for all of the people in my life that allow me to recognize that there is something within me that is worth allowing it to bubble up to the present and be seen. That there is something in each of us that is the divine. So I just release this into the law of mind, spirit, and action, because I know the divine has already called it good. So I let it be. I say amen. And we can affirm it together. And so it is. Thank you again for joining us today. We're on Facebook Live these days, so we don't have an opportunity to pass the basket. But what I want to do is just show you the different ways that you can help support us. I'm grateful this week that Reverend Gail Dillon from Genesis Center for Spiritual Living sent us a tithe check. So it's helping us to meet our expenses. And if you want to help as well, there's a lot of ways you can donate. Out on our website at cslsoutheastla.org, with Southeast spelled out, are all of these ways. But you can also donate through Zella. And if you want to do that, the number is 225-287-8887. You can text your amount. So you just put in the amount and you send a text to 1-225-320-5100. Again, put the amount in the text and send it to 1-225-320-5100. You can mail us a check in that address, which is 445 Magnolia Wood Avenue, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, 70808, is also on the website. Any of those ways that you would like to contribute would be fabulous, so that when we can come back together, we'll have a place to meet and be able to be in community. And when we come back together, we will continue to be doing Facebook Live as well, for those of us that have joined us and like coming to church in your pajamas or in your comfortable clothes. So thank you very much for your donations. And at 11:30 today, we have our community time on the phone. So if you'd like to join us for a live discussion, the number is 515 604 9000, and the participation code is 475220. Again, join us for this on this conference line for some community call. We have a discussion about the topic, and then sometimes we do a process. Usually we do a process to integrate what it was that we heard during this time. So again, thank you for joining us, and until we meet again, may you be wrapped in the arms of loving kindness, and may you know this week that exactly who you are is perfect, that there is a divine presence within you that is welling up to the surface and being seen, so that we know that we are all connected, we are all one, and that life is good. Have a great week.